Chapter 33 to 34. Shirou's expression was filled with mixed emotions as he gazed at Spartacus standing before him. The world is truly unpredictable. Spartacus, who once almost took his life, now stands before him, like a protective shield. "Mad dog," Gilgamesh sneered upon seeing Spartacus, his gaze filled with contempt. "Are you the hero who manifested as a berserker?" Iskandar smiled cheerfully. "You appear to be rational. So would you like to serve under this king?" Spartacus, standing in front of Shirou when facing the servants, revealed a smile of love with an ambiguous meaning, his eyes scanning over Gilgamesh and the others. "Oppressors, abusers. Oh, I will never let you take away the freedom of the weak." But when his eyes met Artoria's, he couldn't help but hesitate, his expression becoming more excited. "My ally?" Artoria's expression remained unchanged. This giant, who is obviously a berserker with a disturbed mind, suddenly appears on the battlefield, provocatively challenging all the servants and then claiming to be an ally. Is this the ravings of a madman, or a scheme by the master behind the scenes? Artoria doesn't know, but she is already preparing to retreat from the battlefield. If she were alone, Artoria would have to fight to the death. But the people behind her are the ones she made a knight's oath to protect. As a king, she acted recklessly once and buried Camelot. She learned from her mistake and cannot afford to act recklessly again. Artoria pays no attention to Spartacus's rambling, but someone else does. "Mongrel, who gave you permission to gaze upon this king's honorable countenance with such a filthy gaze?" Gilgamesh is like an angry god. In a swift motion, he unleashes several noble phantasms towards Spartacus. For the proud Gilgamesh, Spartacus's ambiguous gaze can be seen as a defilement, a true dirt on his pride. Boom, 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 boom! With deadly precision, Gilgamesh's noble phantasm pierces through the body of Spartacus, sending blood splattering everywhere. The ground cracks beneath the impact and explosions echo incessantly. This is it, Shirou thought, trying to seize the opportunity to flee amidst the chaos. But Diomuid, who had been keeping a watchful eye on him, holds twin spears and stares at him intently. Shirou dare not move recklessly, and also dared not to leave Spartacus, who was serving as his shield, too far away. Oh. Despite the numerous wounds inflicted upon him, Spartacus displayed no signs of pain on his face. Instead, his expression was one of pure excitement, as if something incredibly joyous had occurred. He shouted, "Oppressors, tyrants, keep oppressing me, keep torturing me. With my body I will pave the way to freedom." As Spartacus spoke, his body began to expand, and his aura grew increasingly powerful. Tsk! Gilgamesh's expression turns to one of displeasure, and with a snap of his fingers, the sword that had previously suppressed Spartacus materializes once again, crushing him with the force of a mountain. "You have quite an impressive collection of noble phantasms, don't you?" Iskandar looked at Gilgamesh with interest, his smile turning cheerful. "You just keep getting more and more interesting to me." Gilgamesh replied with a cold gaze, but Iskandar's smile remained unchanged. "This is not good. Spartacus is being suppressed." Shirou's heart raced with panic. "It appears that there are no obstacles hindering me from engaging you in combat," Diomuid said gravely, twirling his spear with a serious expression. "Lancer, why do you have to fight me?" Shirou tightens the black cloak around his body, feeling the chill creeping in. "How dare you claim that I, as a servant, tarnish the honor of heroes?" Shirou exclaimed, his anger flaring. He was just a young boy of 6 years old. His Saint Graph, merged with that of Emilia, was irrefutable proof of his identity. Where did Lancer get the notion that he was a traitor? To sully his innocence in such a manner was an outrage. "Your noble phantasms or your abilities are enough to determine this," Diomuid said. "Damn it! My noble phantasm, my abilities, where do I have? Could it be that—" Shirou abruptly paused, a dawning realization hitting him. His noble phantasm and ability panel had all been inherited from Emilia, the only distinction being one of his skills associated with mortals. The wisdom of mortals. D. We are not the chosen ones, but we are the masters of our own fate. Praise those who are good to us and destroy those who are against us. But didn't Scathach say that these were merely records of human wisdom? Where then did Diarmuid and the other servants derive their reasons for resentment from? Damn it. As Diarmuid approached, Shirou's sole focus was on survival, and he had no energy left to consider other thoughts. Oh. The weak are suffering. The weak are being oppressed. How can I stand by and watch? The hero of the weak, the sword of the weak, the shield of the weak, the hero who clears the path to freedom for the oppressed, Spartacus, burst forth from the deep pit with a sudden burst of energy. Oh! Gilgamesh was surprised. The sword was massive, its weight beyond comparison to any earthly objects, but it was moved by Spartacus. He's grown even stronger than before, Waver cried out, clutching Iskandar's cloak in alarm. It appeared that Iskandar had noticed Waver's frightened gaze. Not only has his momentum increased, but the great deeds he has accomplished have also been boosted. It's surprising that this caster is unexpectedly such a hero, Iskandar said with appreciation. He then looked at Shirou, his eyes becoming a bit apologetic. I must extend my apologies, as I had misjudged the situation. This person is not a traitor, but a wanderer roaming the four corners of the world, singing the praise of heroes, although his bravery does seem somewhat lacking. Artoria's grip on the holy sword relaxed slightly, and Irisviel, who was standing behind, noticed and inquired, "What's the matter, Saber? Is everything okay?" "I misunderstood him," Artoria said apologetically, before adding in a serious tone, "Irisviel, we need to prepare to retreat. It's too chaotic here. I can't protect you effectively in this fight." "I understand." Irisviel nodded. Artoria tightened her grip on the holy sword, her gaze scanning the area, alert for any signs of danger from the other servants as she prepared to retreat. "Berserker, must you obstruct my path to bringing glory to my lord?" Diarmuid pointed his spear at Spartacus. Oh, oppressor," Spartacus replied with an ambiguous smile. Unfortunately, the two were not on the same wavelength. Suddenly, boom! Iskandar's chariot let out a thunderous roar, splitting the battlefield in two. Its power was enough to match the combined strength of Artoria and Diarmuid's attack. Spartacus faced him with a smile, but Shirou had to quickly dodge to avoid it. "As I said before, the fight between heroes is mine alone. I will not allow anyone to interfere, not even you, the hero in the flesh of Berserker," Iskandar said with a cheerful laugh. The battlefield was now split in two, with Iskandar focusing on Spartacus and Diarmuid keeping an eye on Shirou. "Damn it," Shirou cursed. He had never before been bothered by Iskandar's grandeur, but now, because of it, he was being forced to face death. "There's one thing I must apologize for as a knight," Diarmuid pointed his spear at Shirou and said, "I thought you were a dirty and treacherous person, but it seems now that is not the case. For my rash judgment, I offer my sincere apologies as a knight, and I will fight with all my might as an unnamed hero." Diarmuid took a stance and charged toward Shirou. Spartacus roared, trying to intervene, but was directly knocked away by Iskandar's chariot. Gilgamesh laughed arrogantly with a joyful light shining in his eyes. Artoria focused on protecting herself and Irisviel from the surrounding servants and possibly the hidden assassin as she retreated step by step. The weak hero had been defeated, leaving only those known as heroes who were actually thugs. The world was vast, but gods and Buddhas had retreated, leaving nothing to rely on. The concept of the wisdom of mortals is accurate. Mortals are not predestined for greatness, but they have the power to shape their own lives. There are no gods, emperors, or immortals that mortals can rely on for guidance or protection. There is only oneself. The fear grips tightly, causing the body to tremble and the mind to shake as death approaches. Escape and resistance seem impossible, and fear paralyzes both the mind and the body. But amidst all this, the brain remains active, still struggling to survive. "Move! Move!" Shirou shouted to himself, trying to give himself suggestions. As the weight of life and death bore down on him, Shirou gritted his teeth. With a newfound determination, he spoke a name that caused even the mighty king of knights, Artoria, to pause, and the unparalleled warrior Diarmuid to be taken aback. "Diarmuid," Shirou asked with a fierce tone, "do you still remember your lord, Fion Makkumhail?" The shame and shock that Diarmuid felt upon his lord's name being revealed was a punishment far greater than the mere exposure of his true name. How do you know this name? Diarmuid halted his attack, his heart trembling as he stared at Shirou in disbelief. Why? Because I am a witness. Shirou replied quickly, his mind racing at high speed under the pressure of life and death. Showing the courage to break free from the shackles of oppression, he continued, Your elopement with Princess Gran, you took away the wife of the lord you served. Do you know the fate of the Fianna Knights? Do you remember the fate that ultimately befell them because of your actions? Unavoidable memories flooded Diarmuid's mind once again, filling his heart with a sense of shame and self-blame. No, don't say any more. Diarmuid covered his head with his hands, glaring at Shirou with eyes filled with anger. Why not? Why won't you admit it? Are you running away, O great knight? No. Are you even worthy of being called a knight? Taking away the wife of your lord to whom you swore to die for, caused the rift between the Fianna Knights and the neighboring kingdom to become irreconcilable, ultimately leading to the collapse of the knights. And you, at the moment of death, still had the gall to beg for help from your former lord. Tell me, Diarmuid, are you worthy of being called a knight? Shirou questioned him relentlessly and mercilessly, revealing Diarmuid's most unwelcome memories. With slightly short breath, as if facing the most terrifying attack in the world, Diarmuid's forehead was covered in sweat, his eyes trembling and his hands shaking. No, I still remember your deceit when you gained Fion's trust. Just like now, you pretended to be brave and talked about dedicating glory to your lord. But what was the result? Shirou mercilessly attacked Diarmuid's psychological defense line step by step. Even Cainith, who was hiding nearby, made a slight sound of movement. He too has been mentally attacked. No, Diarmuid stammered, not knowing how to respond, his mind filled with guilt for his past lord, Fion, and his fellow knights in arms. If it weren't for his actions, the Knight Order would not have fallen apart. Shirou observed Diarmuid, who had abandoned his offensive stance and was now trapped in a state of self-doubt. Despite his racing heart and surging adrenaline, Shirou's mind remained clear, and he had not yet relinquished the fight. He knew that if he gave up the fight, he would die at the hands of Diarmuid's spear. As Shirou prepared to continue his mental attack, a gust of wind like a sword sliced towards him, cutting off his words. He looked up to see Artoria, slowly stepping back, with a solemn expression on her face, her hand raised, and her sharp, invisible holy sword pointed at him without hesitation. Interfering in a knight's duel goes against my principles, Artoria said seriously. But this is enough. The insult to the knight, that's enough. Lancer and I have fought before. He is a true knight. I won't allow you to insult him anymore. Shirou gave a bitter smile. He had once held feelings for her, but now she had become his enemy, ready to take his life without hesitation. She was sharp and merciless. Shirou put away his immaturity and questioned the Night King. Are you saying that knights are only allowed to be praised for their fairness and integrity, even if it's not true? It's not like that, but you are insulting a knight. Artoria stared at Shirou. I am stating facts. Are the things I am saying not true events that have actually happened? Night King, are you praising knights while denying the reality created by someone named Diarmuid, just like you want to deny the destruction of Camelot? Shirou retorted with a firm voice. Camelot? Artoria tightened her grip on her holy sword. Artoria, your lack of attention to the issues of Lancelot and Guinevere ultimately led to the downfall of the Knights of the Round Table and even the death of Knight Gawain. Your failure to address the internal struggles of Camelot and Mordred's betrayal ultimately resulted in the Battle of Camlan and the collapse of your kingdom. Shirou spoke harshly, leveling accusations at Artoria. When a husband fails to communicate with his wife, a father with his child, or a king with his subjects, it leads to chaos and disorder. Tell me, should I praise you blindly and overlook your mistakes, or will you use your holy sword to force me to sing your praises? Your supposed greatness and righteousness? Shirou's words cut deep, revealing the pain in Artoria's heart. Her determined expression faltered as she struggled to hold on to her invisible holy sword. The weight of her past mistakes and the responsibility for her kingdom's downfall seemed to overwhelm her, causing her to stumble for a moment. Shirou looked at the wavering Artoria. He didn't want to hurt her. He didn't want to expose her wounds and rub salt in them. But But what can he do? This is the only way he can defeat these two servants who uphold the knight's spirit. This is his only way to survive. If he were to hesitate in his actions, the outcome would be death. Ha 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 ha! Gilgamesh laughed heartily, his face beaming with pleasure. He was content, truly content. The comedy of the situation, the grotesque display, it was all so amusing. A mongrel should have the ugliness of a mongrel. At last, the king is pleased. He can withdraw now, right? Shirou thought. This guy won't stop him anymore, right? But how should he withdraw? Shirou felt a bit of the tension ease as he thought he had managed to survive. However, he was unaware that his actions, driven by self-preservation, had angered a lioness. You are correct, I cannot deny my mistakes. My failure to address the issues with Lancelot and Guinevere, my lack of communication with the Knights of the Round Table, the death of Gawain, Mordred's rebellion and the fall of Camelot, all these are my mistakes. I failed as a king, a husband, and a knight. I take full responsibility for my actions, and that is why I answered the Holy Grail's call and came to this world. To atone for my mistakes, to make Camelot's dream come true. Artoria gazed at Shirou with a resolute expression. But you have a hidden agenda to reopen my wounds. You have a hidden agenda to rub salt in my wounds. Since you are also a participant in the Holy Grail War, and since you did this to me, I don't have to hold back. In the name of my sword, I swear I will defeat you in this war. Indeed, Diarmuid rose to his feet, his eyes growing more resolute as he looked at Shirou. I came to this world to fulfill an unchanging wish. I once dishonored my lord. Now I will bring glory to him. Your methods of trying to inflict pain on others are low and dishonorable. I swear these two spears will be the last thing you ever see. Shirou was surprised and left without words. His plan to exploit their vulnerabilities had backfired. A person who seeks to manipulate others by attacking their hearts ultimately falls victim to their own schemes. It must be said, it is a humorous irony. At that moment, the two knights whose dark past had been brought to light by Shirou have a fierce determination to kill him and an intense anger towards him. Ha 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 ha! Gilgamesh laughed with great joy